Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of T3PO Live. I'm your host, VashSky, and wow, it's been a very interesting day. What, the precipice of a fifth gate for Walt Disney World? That's very interesting. We'll be exploring that story for sure. It's been a very interesting time, both in, well, what we do, entertainment media, but also too, well, world media. And so it's, I really do appreciate everybody here joining us here and, escaping from the 24-hour news cycle, perhaps, and really, making your day a little bit more magical here at that park place. Whatever we can do, I just really appreciate you guys joining us here. And, joining us here actually on this show is a couple of friends that I'm sure you will love to hear from. First and foremost, well, we're talking about the world, and she's coming from across the world. That is Germany. It is Erika from American Ref. Hello there, Erika.
Hello. Thanks for having me again.
Yes, absolutely. I love seeing you. And, well, actually, Erika joined us for Extra Magic Hours last week on that park place. She did a phenomenal job right there and actually shaped one of our stories that we were going to cover in a delightful way. I think that video, I want to say, has a little over 5,000 views now. I mean, that is absolutely extraordinary. Thank you so much, Erika. You really do. You're really part of the gigawatts, I should say. I don't have the gigawatts clip, but I have this. Great Scott! There you go. That's about as good as you're gonna get. Sorry, Erika, you were gonna say.
No, you're good. Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, one person who definitely has gigawatts because, well, it's in his name. It's Nolan Thunder. Nolan Thunder. What is going on, good sir?
Hello, everybody. Vash, the craziest thing happened to me this past weekend, okay? I was watching this YouTube video. It was on like a Star Wars game from back in the day. And I was watching the video, and then something hit me. I'm like, wait, I know this song. And it was the T3PO theme, and I object to seeing that song in any other kind of video but this. So I feel like Disney and feel like making a copyright claim or an infringement claim. Can we get on that?
Well, I would if I own the rights to the song, which I don't. we license it here, so
many YouTubers use the same source for their music.
It should be owned by the people, and all the collective people decide it's T3PO or nothing, baby.
Indeed, I agree with that. Don't let away the game, Erika. Come on, it's nothing. No, it's all original content, folks. It's all original here at that park place. We assure you. No. Yes, there are a reusing of assets for sure. But you know what's not reused? This background right here. That is all custom made, baby, by the one, the only, my brother. So there you go. That's where we're going today. In fact, you know what? It features a lot of what I think Imagineers would call shape language.
And so what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture. But like what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in Spaceship Reverie Attraction. We really wanted to make sure that we fused to that throughout the space.
Oh, put a stock
I want
to
go to Shape Land. I want to ride the triangle.
You were saying, Erika, sorry. What was it?
I'm in a mood today, and I don't know why. Maybe it's a hormone fluctuation. I don't know. But that woman,
it's because of me.
It's because irritated me.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm like, how much did they pay you to say all that? And just shut up.
Oh boy, Sachi, that would be the Imagineer featured there. It was extraordinary to hear that for the first time. And when I was doing research on Geo 82, she kept saying it in every single interview, no matter who was in front of her. And I was like, wow, it's just, I guess it really is a thing. So when I cut it up and put it in our video where that was first featured, it really made an impression. So I was like, you know what? We're bringing it back. We're going to make it a thing. And so shape language it is, folks. Well, speaking of shape language, we have an update to one of our stories that we actually covered last week here on T3PO. Let me go ahead and share my screen just for a second so as to show everybody what we have. from Mice Chat, Mr. Toad's Wild Roof. This is from their Monday update that they put out, well, as it sounds, every single Monday. But they keep us updated with Disneyland Resort, and we're going to be referring to this for not just one, but two stories, actually. Here you go. Mr. Toad's Wild Roof. Last week, we reported on a guest injury in the queue of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride after a slate roof tile came loose and struck a visitor. This week, the aftermath is nearly visible, and it's not exactly reassuring. What do they mean by this? Maintenance teams have stripped dozens of slate tiles from both sides of the ride's entry, presumably removing anything they suspect might be unstable. But rather than fully address the problem, they've installed a quick wooden guardrail along the roof line, a makeshift catcher that resembles a gutter but isn't. If another tile slips, the hope seems to be that this temporary fix will catch it before gravity allows it to hit the ground. It's unbelievably bizarre, but okay. Let's be blunt. This is a patch, not a solution. At some point, the entire roof is going to need a proper rebuild to meet both safety standards and Disneyland's usual show expectations. And you can see right here. For those not familiar with the story, it appeared that Dusty Sage actually caught the aftermath of what was a guest injury involving this tile roof above Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disneyland. Apparently, one of the shingles on this roof that was actually just redone, by the way, actually slipped and hit somebody in the head. The grandmother of the incident called it, there was blood everywhere, I think is the description that she actually used for this. And so to see such a haphazard fix put in place, or fix, I should say, put in place, on the one hand, it's like, okay, they did something about it. But on the other, did they really? Your guys' thoughts on all of this, please.
We have those here in Europe. I think it's to catch any of us who go on the roof to try to do any repairs, because the roofs, well, just like it mimics they're very, very steeply triangular. And we have the same thing on all the houses out here. My question is, what happens when the tile bounces and goes and the rail doesn't catch what it's supposed to catch?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, actually. You would think that at a certain point the tiles would either shatter or bounce, and now you have a big problem that you were trying to avoid. But well, it appears that might be unavoidable. Nolan, is this the route they should go? I understand it's a quick fix. You got to, call up contractors in order to do this work again, and sometimes that can take time. The question for me is, why wasn't this done properly the first time? That's one. And two, is this an adequate solution?
Well, as I said last week when I was making my rant that would put a hole in the ozone layer, when this injury happened, it had to do with a child, and this needs to be a top priority to never let this sort of thing happen again. I do understand there's a lot of complicated work going on behind the scenes, but this needs to be numero uno on the list of priorities within the Walt Disney Company right now in their theme parks. And as long as it's safe enough, to catch if they think it's going to be a similar kind of problem, they don't foresee any more catastrophic disasters, kind of like what you're seeing with Ant-Man on screen right now, anything of that nature. Hopefully it should work for now. My bigger concern would really be, hey, once this fully goes into fruition, they're going to need to go full on because this temporary fix won't work forever. Don't take a year to renovate a bathroom, but with a roof, this needs to be moved along because this has to do with guest safety. And at the end of the day, anything you do at a theme park, it's not about money, it's not about satisfaction. Number one thing is you need to be able to go home to your families. And I really hope they're making the right measure with it. And it seems like I can get behind this temporary fix as long as it's not a permanent temporary fix, like those tasks no one ever wants to do at home because they never get to them. I want to see get this done as soon as possible.
I would agree with that, absolutely. I think we're all hoping that for some kind of permanent fix. That one, I think, is aesthetically pleasing, but more important than anything, is safe to be under. This was a surprising story just because I remember this roof refurbishment project, and it wasn't just this roof to Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, but you're talking about a series of facilities or attractions within one building, right? So they redid the roofs of not just this attraction, but multiple, because they like I was saying before, that's all one structure. And I think that was both sides, so technically two, but you get my point. It was a large project to undergo, and everybody was assuming that it was actually done really, really well. But I mean, we have just seen this constantly over and over again, like we were saying in the last time we covered this subject, talking about how like Mickey's Toontown over there at the edge of Disneyland, how they had to redo work like the fake grass that they had out there, some of the kids' playground areas. There was really just not great workmanship attached to that specific project. And I think, I think, what is it? I want to say somebody described this as like as something that somebody could really get injured on, that being the work done at Mickey's Toontown, and so they had to like really go back there and secure it and make sure it was up to snuff. I just can't believe this keeps happening over and over and over. We saw that with the Haunted Mansion gift shop, for example, right? The flooding, in which drainage wasn't properly assessed and done. That had to go behind construction walls in order to cover that. We saw like the pergola over there, Red's sit down area over there at Cars Land. It's just over and over and over again. I don't know why. It just keeps happening. And speaking of shoddy workmanship, well, we have a story later on today that goes into that in some great detail. So definitely stick around for that one. For this story, I hope the resolution can come swiftly and finally, and we can just put this whole thing behind us. But I look at the water feature outside of the bathrooms at Adventureland. That took like 4 years or something like that, or some crazy amount of time in order to fully come up with a solution for that. And I don't even think it's fully operational just yet, but it's taken a while for that to be rectified. We're just now seeing new lampposts that have replaced old ones. We talked about an incident in which a lamppost actually fell over and actually injured a guest in one circumstance right there. These things take time. Hopefully we won't have to take or wait much longer. All right, let's see right here. I think we have Araxis with the $2. What? No membership gifting? Jonas. Well, it's not Jonas's problem or her fault. It's mine, because I haven't activated memberships on this channel, but it is coming soon, folks. I guarantee you it is coming soon. How soon? Not quite. I don't quite know yet, but I can assure you it is coming soon. And we're having a lot of programming updates for T3PO and That Park Place in the coming months. You are going to want to stick around. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe to this channel and subscribe to That Park Place over there, our other YouTube channel, which is always putting out amazing content. Okay, so we're going to stick around in Disneyland for just a second here before we leave, because I want to get to an interesting story. We've heard about Walt Disney World and how, attendance there has just plummeted. I mean, there's just almost nobody there. It's crazy. But that's not the same for Disneyland over there on the West Coast. This is very interesting, folks, because people will say, oh, it's macro issues, it's, socioeconomic issues, it's, heat, it's all these different things. And it's like, I mean, well, we took the heat argument and we put that to the side because Epic Universe was packed. Universal Studios Florida was packed. It was Walt Disney World that really wasn't doing very well. And now Disneyland, well, that appears to also be doing pretty good. Who's in the back right here? Is that you, Marvin? Marvin!
Hey!
What are you doing back there?
Hey.
Whoa!
What's up, Marvin?
Yeah, I just
Oh
figured
my God.
I don't know how much time I've got, but we just got off the pro show and I'm actually ahead of schedule for once. So I was like, I'm going to stop it and see what Vash is up to.
Well, I do appreciate your presence, good sir.
Oh, and you
Come on.
Ghost.
Yeah.
I've never seen you not orange.
Wait, is my camera on? Oh, no.
Yes, folks. The face reveal.
We have done the big reveal on the pro show today. So,
wow.
Woo,
That's
that's our boy.
you won't see it on the Toontown channels, but you can see it on the pro show on That Park Place channels and probably the HCast too.
He's too beautiful.
Everywhere else. Let the Toonie Town or Toonie Town Wrestling channels. Wow. Okay, well, there you go. Marvin, thank you so much for coming in. We were just going over this story, and I think you might find this very interesting. From Mice Chat here, their Monday update. Back in busyness, the crowd levels on Thursday were high, mostly due to many people having the day off or even a 4-day weekend for the Juneteenth holiday. And this was with the two lowest tier Magic Keys blocked out and prices at the $200 a day range for one park tickets. Park reservations help keep the situation from getting even more packed, but we wouldn't want to see the park any more crowded than this. And you can see a lot of people at Disneyland. It's so bizarre. At noon on Thursday, the lines for Disneyland and Disney California Adventure met at the 70th anniversary sculpture in the Esplanade, and cars backed up into the freeway near park opening. Whoa, that's a lot right there. You can just see how packed everything was over the weekend right here. At the same time that Walt Disney World simply did not have this level of business. This is kind of what was bizarre about all of this. And before I go ahead and send to the panel to discuss this, not only were the queues extra long, but the app showed a 95-minute wait times for Guardians, Radiator Springs, and Soarin', plus 70 minutes for Grizzly River Run. It's going to be rough when Disney shuts Monsters, Inc. down to build Avatar. It's a good point right there. The park just doesn't have enough capacity for a people eating ride to disappear, especially with no big show in the Hyperion. Also a big deal. Time for someone at Disney to risk their career to state the obvious. Major theaters should not sit empty for years when guests are paying $200 a day. Well, Dusty, I agree with you. Guys, your thoughts on all of this at Disneyland Resort?
Oh, I mean, good for Disney. Like you said, Disneyland is a locals park, so it makes sense that if the holiday was going on, and unlike in Florida, Juneteenth I don't believe is recognized as a state holiday. It is recognized as a federal holiday. But so a lot of people in Florida I found didn't have the day off. Like a lot of people that I know around here, they were all at work. So yeah, but it's interesting to see that, like, when people are off, they still flock to Disneyland. Walt Disney World, though, not seeing any of that, because it's the string of just downward momentum continues for the Magic Kingdom. I personally am shocked that all of that Epic Universe business isn't raising up Disney the way it was supposed to.
What? That's not what Josh Giamaro told me, though, Marvin.
I know,
it's not like the opposite.
It's not like him to lie through his teeth.
Oh, I just can't believe it. Nolan, please set me at ease. What are we seeing here?
Well, I'm in a complete state of shock right now, because if you guys have seen the weather headlines lately, we've been under a major heat advisory. I got pelted with sunburn this past weekend, and it was awful. And yet there's still people showing up. So once again, the C-suite doesn't lie to us. So why are there people here? Is this mirrors, smoke and mirrors? What's going on?
I mean, that's it's an interesting take for sure. Some of this footage is obviously taken at other time of the year. Just want to be frank, but the photos obviously over the weekend. This is to me, this really illustrates, and I think I want to highlight this to the audience, that Disneyland and Walt Disney World are very different places with very different locales and very different markets. But Walt Disney World is definitely the revenue driver for the entire company. Even though there's a lot of bodies in this park, it doesn't mean that every single one of those is spending the same. Especially when compared to Walt Disney World, where you have, 35,000 resort hotels and everything like that. It's just a very different story when you talk about the revenue potential of both these resorts. And it's frankly why these two resorts are run and managed completely differently. Erika, we see, I think, a contraction, let's say, of attendance and revenue at Walt Disney World. Disneyland, though, at least in terms of attendance, people are still going. What do you think it is?
Oh, I'm a little perplexed, because I would have never guessed growing up in Florida that we would come to this one day. The only thing that comes to mind is in Florida, I don't know anything about California. So I've never lived there. I've never visited. I don't even know the norms of the Disney fans in California. Seem to, like you pointed out, seem to be different than Florida. I know just growing up in Florida, Disney's not the only show in town for us Floridians to enjoy our time off. There's SeaWorld, there's Busch Gardens, there are water parks, there are the beaches. There's just, it's just like you pointed out, it's just different. And I wasn't raised directly in Orlando either to even fully go into full understanding of living in Orlando. We lived in Tampa. So for us, it was, yeah, Disney was there, but Busch Gardens was closer. And we typically went to the beach, even as teenagers. It was free, it was easier. I don't know, I'm kind of a little shocked.
You're right, Erica. I can go to Jetty Park, which is my favorite beach in Orlando. Not in Orlando, but in the Central Florida area for I think $10. And that's a beach right next to the cruise port, so the ships all sail by. There's a ton to do. There's state parks, there's natural springs. There's Disney has got a lot of competition in Central Florida, even though they don't like to pretend that they do. I honestly think if Universal opened annual passes for Epic Universe tomorrow, Disney would be completely empty within the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that announcement, by the way, is coming pretty quickly here, as the summer wanes. And well, I would think so, yeah, because I think Universal's not going to want to go for too much longer without at least annual pass holders on the horizon. So I think something's going to happen there. It might take until after the winter season, but start looking, when fall kind of sets in and so forth. Maybe we get an announcement around that time, if not after Christmas. And you get to spring, and it's like, okay, now we need that annual pass holder visitation. I would assume something like that's going to happen. Anyway, Disneyland. I think this is happening for a couple of reasons, and then I want to go ahead and end with Marvin on one last question surrounding this. One, I mean, look, you had to pay, I think, like what, $1,000 or $1,600 for a pass in order to get into the park on these days over this holiday weekend. And then two, if you didn't buy a single day pass for what, $200, as MiceChat relays, you would have had to go into for a multi-day pass. And I do think they were doing multi-day passes actually as a discounted offer for this summer season right here. So that could be a lot that plays into this too. But it's just the locals just visit this place differently. This is why we bring up like 75% of the visitation of the Disneyland Resort comes within about 250 miles of that location right there. It's the world's most famous regional park, and that's why Walt Disney World, at least on this level, simply can't compete. Now, again, bodies aren't necessarily bodies. It's how much people are spending, and Walt Disney World, like I was saying before, it's just endless revenue opportunities there. Marvin, is there a chance though that Disneyland overtake Magic Kingdom as the most attended theme park in the world?
I think so. I think as Magic Kingdom's prices continue to rise and competition continues to get more fierce, I think that is definitely a possibility. It's whether or not it all depends on how much the incoming tourist crowd thins out at Walt Disney World, because Walt Disney World's the bulk of Walt Disney World traffic comes from people that are coming from out of state, out of country, out of town, or whatever it is, that are staying on property and kind of existing within the Disney bubble. If that bubble has indeed burst, if the love affair with Magic Kingdom is over, if people start to realize that it's it is a very inconvenient park in just about every single way, which it really is, then I think it's possible that you might start to see Disneyland pull ahead and become the most attended Disney park in America. And I think, I mean, that would be a huge get. It'd be funny because it would be Disney beating itself. But the number one theme park in guest satisfaction is still going to be Dollywood.
That's for sure. We can't take away from Dollywood at all.
Oh my gosh, I saw, like, because like people have been sharing the stuff about how, like, Dollywood is the number one ranked theme park for guest satisfaction, and the pixie dusters melt down when you share that. Melt down, like they're like, it's like someone opened the Ark of the Covenant. Their faces melt off.
Yeah, they have a new, I think, flight simulator ride that's going to be opening there very, very soon. That's very cool. Gonna
If you've never gone, then go.
Definitely go, folks. It is awesome. I've had the pleasure of not going just once, but twice. Awesome experience right there with some of the friends that you actually see on the panel. That was pretty cool.
That was fun.
Just awesome stuff. Fantastic. And man, this is going to be interesting to watch. I think that the Themed Entertainment Association numbers that were published, I believe for 2023, only had Magic Kingdom and Disneyland off by like 1 million. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this could happen, and that hasn't happened.
Close.
Man, I can't even remember when the last time that happened. It's been a long, long time. Very interesting. We'll keep everybody up to date on this story and more. All right, let's see. This is going to be an interesting story, and let's just have everybody be on their best behavior for this one, because we're entering spicy territory. Erika, you know about the spicy, Spice Lounge, all that, right now. Okay.
Yeah. How spicy? Because I think I may or may not have demonetized their stream because of my mouth.
Well, let's
the least likely person you would ever expect.
Well, when Erika gets
wait
going
for the day where we can hang out in person and you guys can really get to know me.
Nobody thinks they need to have their finger on the dump button when Erika starts talking, but then all of a sudden, demonetized.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here you go. This might demonetize us. Who knows? Okay. All right. So this story starts out very strangely and then gets even stranger. Okay. Here you go. This from the Daily Mail. French police arrest 22-year-old British man accused of trying to marry girl aged 9 at Disneyland Paris. This Sabrina Penty. You can see right here, it's June 22nd, 2025. When you react, okay, there's more to this story, and it's absolutely wild. So, okay, French police have arrested a 22-year-old man believed to be British amid claims he tried to marry a 9-year-old girl at Disneyland Paris on Saturday. Okay. Park staff were shocked to see the child along with her family, and around 100 guests turned up for the event and quickly called the police. So the idea is like, look, okay, this guy goes there, books the entire park, I believe for like $150,000. On the day of the wedding, bride comes in with, the guy comes back, the groom that is, comes back with the bride. The cast members are horrified and they call the cops. Okay. And that by itself is crazy. It's wild. But it gets even crazier. You see, as this story started to develop, it became clear that, well, maybe things weren't exactly what they appeared to be. Here you go from The Guardian. Disneyland Paris calls in police over alleged fake wedding with child bride. That's interesting. Now
one of those classic fake weddings between an adult and a child.
Yes, just one of those classic fake hoaxes there. But here's the thing. So BBC, this is 2 hours ago, British man charged over wedding with child 9 at Disneyland Paris. Okay, there you go. A British man has been charged in connection with organizing the, quote, mock wedding of a 9-year-old Ukrainian girl in Disneyland Paris. Apparently, this guy put down a lot of money and paid all these actors, like 100 actors, to show up for this specific wedding, and it was all a hoax. This is truly bizarre.
Yeah.
We'll read more into it. But folks, your reaction to all of this?
I read it from, was it New York Post? Was the article I read it from. And I have so many questions, more questions than answers. For one, okay, so the wedding was $150,000, right? Or was
Correct.
it that they spent $150,000 hiring the actors? I got a little
I think they
convoluted.
rented Disneyland for $150,000.
Right. And usually, I would think that, you have a percent deposit, so who knows if they actually ended up paying that amount of money in order to book this
That
out.
sounds about right
I mean, maybe
anyway.
they did.
At the Magic Kingdom, I think it's $100,000 to even have your wedding in the park like that in front of the castle. My question is, where was the wedding planner in all this? And when someone is planning a wedding of that magnitude, don't you meet with the couple? That's a lot of money. I understand you can, do a lot of this online and planning your wedding because I'm a girl. I've been on the Disney website and we've looked into it. But at the end of the day, you do meet with a wedding planner because they usually add in all these little pixie dust elements, that you don't typically ask for, to make your day feel special or whatnot. So I just have a lot of questions. Who was the wedding planner? At what point did they not know who the adult couple was? Did they not meet with a couple? If they did, was it a fake adult couple?
All I can say, Erika, is I can't wait for this episode of Disney Fairy Tale Weddings.
That's
Kicking
terrible,
off,
Marvin.
Show up and bust all their chops.
I'm surprised this would happen. This guy that was apparently doing this, you would think that he might be chipper about doing all of this. It's as close as I can get to saying what I want to say.
Yes, I would agree with that. This is interesting right here from Hammer Biotech. Oddly, not that one. It is this one. Is it a stunt to increase awareness of this image? That's or this issue. That's an interesting plot twist. I never really thought of that as.
I would have never thought of that either.
I think we would know if this was staged like that, because I remember when I went to Epic Universe the first day, they were actually had some camera crews out filming some portion of like a documentary they were filming for like the opening, like the development of Epic Universe. And even if it was a low key thing throughout the day, there was talk and there was jumbled up phrases about, hey, you see those guys over there? They're filming something. There's no way they could hide that. Someone would mention a camera and it would end up in this article. I'm not buying that in the slightest.
These weddings are usually done either the park is closed. It's either at midnight or in this case it was like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah, it was like early morning. Yeah.
Was that the cake in that last image?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you even eat that? This is not my biggest issue with this wedding. I'm just saying there are multiple issues with this wedding.
That's very true. Very true. Just want to make
I'm not gonna lie, but that thought crossed my mind too. As well, who's gonna eat the cake?
For the life of me, I was like, is that a butter sculpture? Like, what is that?
It's a big cake right there. Let's see if we can read more. Let's see if we can read more here. French prosecutor said the 39-year-old man was a convicted offender who was wanted in the UK.
I did not read that on the other one. This is adding more details that was not in the other article I read.
Oh.
His name has not been made public. He was arrested when the police were called to the amusement park on Saturday morning at dawn by a, quote, guest who said that he had been hired by the man to play the father of the bride. Well, that's
Steve Martin's job.
We heard it was cast members at first. That man said that he had been paid 12,000 euros to play the role and that he only realized at the last minute that the bride was a child, according to a statement by a Mao prosecutor, Jean-Baptiste Badier, I believe. The statement also said that the Ukrainian girl who arrived in France 2 days earlier had not been a victim of either physical or violence and had not been forced to play the role of the bride. A woman who says that she was hired to play the role of a guest told BFM TV that when she arrived at Disneyland Paris, she saw a, quote, little girl dressed in white with her hair all done up, and I saw a woman who picked her up in her arms, and I was shocked. I burst into tears. What I saw, it was a child. It was absolutely horrific. Whoa! Around 100 French extras have been recruited to take part in the fake ceremony, which was to be filmed in a private capacity. This is... It's just bizarre. This is absolutely bizarre.
I know, that's where I got reflect.
How do we not have this guy's name or like a photo of him? Like, how is there nothing about who this guy is? I'm very interested to hear his name. That's all. I'm just going to leave it at that.
That's
how
a very
in the
good
world
point.
did the wedding even get to this point where it was on site and the whole dang cake was made? I spent the whole weekend working at a wedding for my own job, setting up, and there's so many different avenues and spots that need to go into it. There should have been a million red flags, and 100 people showed up for this thing. Did no one question what was going on here?
Like I said, at what point did they not meet with the couple that was engaged to be married?
We'll find out when it's featured on Cake Boss next year. They walked into my shop and I see the bride's a 9-year-old girl. How am I going to make this cake?
That's terrible, Marvin. But I mean, you're not wrong. I think, okay, if it's a stunt, right? Because I think it makes a lot more sense if it is a stunt. Possibly, maybe he comes in with another woman and she poses as the bride, and then the real bride shows up. Well, I say real, but quotes everybody. The real bride shows up on the day. Is that possible?
Yeah,
Perhaps?
it's just a real funny joke to fake out the audience. Like, oh, you all thought I was a creep that was going to marry a 9-year-old girl. Don't worry, here's my real wife. Let's all eat this terrible cake now.
Oh, that backfired dearly. Not to mention if he really does have a rap sheet in that area.
The BBC the BBC is bending itself over backwards here to not say who this guy is, which tells me everything I need to know about who this guy is.
Well, that's a fair point. To defend BBC for just a moment, I think they said that the name hadn't been released, so perhaps
How is that possible when somebody is arrested? Like, it's France. I guess they probably are.
A little weird, right? Preliminary findings also stated that he had allegedly been, quote, made up professionally so that his face appeared totally different from his own, according to the prosecutor. 3 other people, including the 41-year-old mother of the girl, a 24-year-old Latvian woman who was said to be the bride's sister, and a 55-year-old Latvian man were also arrested. By Tuesday, only the British man was still being held by police. The British man and the Latvian woman appeared in front of a judge in Mao on June 23rd, and the man was charged with fraud, breach of trust, money laundering, and identity theft, and placed in pretrial detention. The Latvian remains a witness to the investigation. The prosecutor's statement also said that Disneyland Paris had been, quote, deceived, that the organizer had used a fake Latvian ID to hire the venue. Disneyland Paris can be rented by members of the public outside opening hours. BFMTV reported that the mock wedding may have cost the organizer more than 130,000 euros. That you're not getting back. Now that I think about it, on the day you probably have to pay in full, right? Because they're not renting out the park for you until you paid up completely. So I think they are.
You have to have everything paid off. You have to have everything paid off either a month or 2 weeks before your wedding. That's just standard in the industry, and that's just catering in general and event planning. But so back to the ID thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you mean to tell me that Disney was okay with just one side of the party presenting themselves instead of both the bride and groom together? I just find it weird. That would be a red flag to me if, as a wedding planner, I'm meeting with, let's say, the bride, but the groom's just kind of this ghost, and vice versa.
I'm also a little surprised.
It's weird to me.
Because I think you bring up a lot of great points, Erika, and these are things that obviously the public is wanting to know, and specifically like what role Disney played in this up to this point. I'm surprised Disney themselves haven't made a statement publicly about this and saying, hey, look, listen, we were deceived. This is kind of what happened. This is still being investigated by police, obviously. Like, put out a statement first and foremost that, hey, we don't endorse this behavior at all. We don't, like this happened. Put all that out. Instead, they have been quiet on this issue. I haven't found a statement officially from Disney so far. It's just very bizarre. It's just my mind was kind of blown at first about this, and now it's really blown.
I will say, and this is kind of getting into a different topic, but when I scrolled down and started reading the comments under the article, and this is on New York Post,
mm-hmm.
it was pretty telling as a whole to see the overall reputation of Disney. In a way, it solidifies what we've been saying for a while, why people have, by and large, turned away from Disney, both in the theme park and entertainment or areas of the company. I'm not suggesting you show the comments unless you want to. I don't know if you proofread them or not, but there were a lot of people that were
Only imagine.
There
Go
were
ahead.
people that were alluding of, kind of putting Disney in the same category as the, we'll say, perpetrator, which isn't surprising. I mean, when you considered Disney's past, I don't know how you want to, sins, for lack of better words. That's kind of a strong word, but they don't have the best of reputations either. And the public was kind of calling them out in some ways of having that similar reputation. And it's like, you know what? If you needed a little bit of an overview of their reputation from outside looking in, just read the comments in some of those articles. Like Iger needs to read this stuff and get a better idea of where his company sits in terms of its overall reputation.
Yeah, I'm reading some of these right now.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, Disney has maybe perhaps a reparable brand reputation from their recent decisions, and they can only really blame themselves for garnering that reputation. Obviously, we've seen people at ABC talking about my not so secret whatever agendas and so forth, and it's just this kind of accumulation of really bad stories that I think have kind of mired in Disney in such long-lasting controversy. Marvin, is that your...
Oh yeah, this is the worst thing. This is the worst look Disney could have possibly gotten. We live in an era now where grown men are trying to allegedly marry 9-year-old girls in the middle of Disney parks, while on another continent, grown men are filming in women's bathrooms in Disney parks. I mean, Disney is starting to become synonymous with just like the worst of the worst of the things that we're not allowed to really say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that that story that you mentioned right there, filming in women's bathrooms, we're tracking that one down. I can tell you right.
We're trying to figure
now
out if there's validity to it. So trust me, the
Yep.
second there's validity to it, we are running with it.
We have to. It's a very important story, and you shouldn't be doing this at all. Let's see here. No, I'm sorry. Wildman, if you haven't, with the $10, having looked this up just now, they cannot get married in France unless they are 18 or they have consent from parents and a public prosecutor. Start with the prosecutor, even if joke horrible. Indeed. Very much appreciate that, Wildman, if you haven't. Yeah, I think the age of consent in France might be as low as 15, but again, you do that parent permission, obviously, and there's a series of things you have to go through. I mean, just horrific. And by the way, I do want to know: was it the cast members? Was it Disney themselves who called, or was it a guest who called? Because that I think is particularly interesting
it was
as well.
Cast members. It was the cast that are responsible for setting up and just kind of being there to make sure the wedding flows smoothly. They were the ones that caught it and made the report.
Meanwhile, the people in France are just like, how could you be so close-minded? This is the future.
It's terrible, Marvin. Terrible. I will say, Erika, in this reporting by the BBC, it says that a guest called. So, there's some discrepancy in some reporting here. I want to know who called, because if it wasn't Disney, that's a problem.
That's a huge problem if it wasn't Disney. If they were just going to let it go and take that $150,000. Though I don't know. I've never read the contracts for the wedding. Like if the groom gets taken away in handcuffs, do they get a refund? Or are we past the point where you get your deposit back at that point?
I think they keep that money. I'm pretty sure.
The money. The guy doesn't deserve a refund.
Oh yes, yeah, that would be a bad look as well. Mary Vita with the $4.99. Thank you so much. France24 is giving a Disney statement. Oh, interesting. Let's see here. Nolan, could you do me a favor? Try looking that up.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I really want to. I want to know what Disney actually says about this, because that is of particular interest indeed, and perhaps we have more clarity on who actually called the cops on this whole thing. Very
And
interesting.
there are, I know in the U.S. we have to go through like the merit. We go to the justice of the clerk of the circuit court to get your marriage license. You both have to be present and you have to swear in. And there's a notary. It's a legal document. I'm not familiar with how that part of marriage licensing works here in Europe, but you have, on some level, there's a legal aspect to this, and both bride and groom's names and ages, like their date of birth, would be recorded on such a document. And that has to be submitted to Disney for whoever the officiant is going to be. So even in that angle, I'm just sitting here questioning Disney. At what point did you not know that? Like, I just feel like the red flags were there. How did you miss that? But then again, I don't know what the legalities are on marrying here in Europe when they're both national locals. It's just a bizarre story. You have a Ukrainian girl, 2 Latvians from Latvia, and then a Brit guy all communing in France. That screams trafficking to me in some way on a global scale.
Oh yeah, that was my first thought too.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Indeed.
an advertisement for that, almost as though these criminals are, in a way, teasing the public. We're here in a very sick-minded way.
Okay, so France 24 is saying this. Disneyland Paris emphasized in a statement sent to AFP on Sunday that the event had been, quote, immediately canceled by its teams, quote, after the identification of significant irregularities. That's what they're saying there.
You
Definitely
should have
need
caught
more
the irregularities way before you even started baking a cake.
Maybe they didn't bake the cake. Maybe, there's another.
It was cake boss.
Styrofoam, who knows?
I gotta make this cake for this child wedding, but my sisters and I are having a weight loss competition. Worst show ever made.
Terrible.
Worst show ever made. The worst thing about it, it made going to the best bakery in Hoboken terrible.
It's a fair point. Now, Marvin, I do know you have to run, so please, what do you got going on maybe on Thursday night?
Super glad I was able to stop in. Tune in Thursday nights. Nolan and I are going to be over there for Tuning Talk TV, live stream pop culture podcast. We are going to have a ton of stuff to talk about. So make sure you're there Thursday night on the Tuning Town TV channel for Tuning Talk TV, and we'll see you there. And of course, make sure you keep it to thatparkplace.com every single day for all the news that should be fun, because that is where you need to be getting your news, folks, because it's a place that tells the truth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marvin. Very much appreciate you showing up. And by the way, looking fresh. Do appreciate it.
Bye, Marvin.
See you, Marvin.
See you.
Thank you, Marvin. All right, let's see right here. This is, man.
This is so bizarre.
I can't figure this one out. Okay.
Analyzing this.
I know. Well, it's an important story because, for obvious reasons. I understand it's one of those stories I don't like covering because of the severity of it, obviously, but it did take place in a Disney theme park, and it's like, well, we can't not talk about it, so we just have to do it very, very carefully. According to the prosecutor, Disneyland Paris was deceived with, quote, the organizer impersonating a Latvian national and using fake documents to secure the contract to hire the park. Very interesting. Well, it still went all the way to the point where they did have a cake and they did have 100 people there and all of that. So I'm just kind of questioning, at what point they feel that there was a problem here. It's just bizarre. It's just very, very bizarre. Okay, well, let's go ahead and put that one to bed, shall we? We will go ahead and keep our eyes on this story. I want to know everything about it. But that's our first impression of this, and what an impression it is.
Hope more
The Wild Man, if
unfolds.
you haven't, with $5. The dude was going to stream it live, getting content and views has gotten out of control. Really? Oh boy. Erika, I believe you were going to say something.
In the article I was just reading, it said it was meant to be filmed privately, but there again, we're already seeing some discrepancies in the reporting from one entity to another.
Right.
It's really hard to piece together what the intent was here with this event. What was their end goal? It's just golly.
It's tough. I don't know why, in fact, you did this. If it's to bring awareness to something, I suppose you got the headlines, sure, but is there a better way of going about this?
Well, what they're bringing awareness to isn't the right cause. This could be, on a worst case scenario, could be extremely sinister. Especially if you've seen the movie like Sound of Freedom,
Of course.
it could be in that extreme, or it could just be some idiot who thought it was funny and just had money to blow out of his rear end, and he's a weirdo and he's sick and he's just got money to blow out of his butt, but I'm just still hung up on the fact that I guess at Disneyland Paris, one party, be it the groom or the bride, is enough for them to get into a wedding contract and move forward with a full wedding without the wedding planner actually needing to meet both of them and seeing their IDs, and vetting, like a vetting process here. And I'm thinking moving forward, Disney's probably going to start changing their policies on, like, you're going to have to prove you're a legit couple wanting to get married. And this isn't just some stunt you're trying to pull for whatever reason because, these weddings are popular. They do take up time. There is a wait list. I think you have to plan out 2 to 3 years to have your wedding at Disney. That is how popular it is. I know it's expensive, but time is money. People will plan 2-3 years out because they can afford a 50,000 plus wedding in that time span, especially when there's monthly payments. You put your deposit down and then you pay over time. So it is conceivable for a lot of people to have a wedding at Disney. And not all weddings.
That is, if the couple can make it
here.
that long to the wedding. The price commitment helps them stay on track.
Yeah, there's that too. But all joking aside, Disney's probably gonna have to start requiring couples to prove, because the fact of the matter is there's a wait. There is a line. People are waiting in line. Legitimate couples that want their weddings done there. And the thing is, they took away a spot from a couple that had the money, that maybe wanted that date, but they were denied because it was already reserved, and it was reserved for this, nonsense. And Disney's going to have to start coming up with policies to prevent this from happening, so the real couples have a shot at getting married there on the date, hopefully that they want. That's that
point.
angle of it. And I'm just thinking, like,
If you
an
don't
event
mind,
planner.
Erika.
I've done a lot of party planning in my life. I've planned weddings and baby showers, and that's just part of the course.
No.
If you don't mind, Erika, I'd like to follow up what you're saying. And it's tragic that we live in a world now where it feels like you have to check people's ID for pretty much everything. The fact that this was able to move so far along without anybody willing to speak up about what was happening here, that tells a lot about things. And if society is going to make improvements, there needs to be people with the courage to say something.
And you're talking international, an international marriage, or you're talking technically, a guy from another country going to another country to get married. There's even more legalities to that. than what we already have to go through as a local national. At least for us in the States, it's pretty straightforward. You go to your courthouse, you get your marriage license, and you swear and you fill out the paperwork. You have to have 2 proofs of ID, I believe, whether it be a passport and your driver's license or your military ID and your driver's license. And when you're getting into international areas, like I said, I don't know what all the legalities are because that's not the kind of marriage I'm in. Raph and I are both American citizens. But I do know through military couples that have married internationally, there's a lot of red tape. And it can be hell for some of these couples to get married. They're already from 2 different countries and then getting married in a third country that neither one of them are citizens of. There's just so many dynamics here, legally speaking, and I have questions on that end. I'm not believing or understanding how Disney missed the ball on this. Like in a sense, I'm like, but you hired a really lazy wedding planning staff, or they just don't care. I don't know.
I'm it's incredibly fascinating to me. I would have thought a statement from Disney would have been a little bit more public than just relegating it to simply media outlets who are only taking brief snippets of it. Very interesting stuff. The Wild Man of Yavin with $5.
They're going to have to consult their lawyers. It's a bad look for them. And everything that I pointed out are what any lawyer and prosecutor is going to be bringing to the table. Disney knows this. So it's only not common sense that Disney's being very careful and guarded on what they say, because anything they say can be held against them in a court of law. They know that.
Of course. The Wild Man of Yavin with $5. People and Hindustan Times are 2 sources. All for the purpose of social media content. Could be BS, don't get me wrong, but he does continue here and say that for $2, Wild Man of Yavin, the Sun said it was to be streamed live. So, well, there you go.
It was going to be streamed. That's so freaking weird, though. It's so gross. I'm sorry.
I know. It is bizarre.
It's worse.
It is bizarre. I can't. This is why I'm bringing it to your attention, folks, because it's just a weird story, and there's so many open questions, and there's so many different things that simply haven't been addressed. And Erika brings up so many amazing points. We need some answers, and we need some answers now. Speaking of answers, it looks like let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and get this on my other screen. Twisted Frito says, just catching up on the replay in regards to Disneyland's attendance versus Walt Disney World. You guys had mentioned Disneyland is throwing a 70th anniversary right now. It's all over SoCal advertisements. That's true. 70th anniversary celebration is in place right now, but I didn't bring it up, even though it's probably important. Disney will use pretty much an excuse in order to run public ads and really make a show of everything. The reason why I didn't bring up the 70th anniversary is only because the big draws for the 70th are at night. And so what we see from a lot of the visitation patterns of the Disneyland Resort is that people come in like 6 o'clock in order to take advantage of those nighttime festivities. That being Wondrous Journeys, that being Paint the Night, the New World of Color show, all of that. There really isn't that much going on in the day. This is with the keys comment. Yeah, I suppose that's fair. You got the keys, and apparently they're limiting, instead of a maximum of 10, now you can only buy 2, folks. So,
You can't make a keychain with 2 keys.
Those are some big keys, though. No, big keys. Yeah, so, and then we're still waiting on the Walt Disney Animatronic. That has been delayed. It was supposed to make its debut in May. Now we'll make its debut July 17th. So that was the only other thing that really was, I think, a big number for the 70th anniversary. We're still waiting on that. We'll be tracking Disneyland attendance for sure, but I want to go ahead and clarify that point. Thank you so much, Twisted Fritos, for your amazing comment. We got one more story, folks, and this time, well, it's a big one. I don't quite know how to transition to this next topic, but you know what? Let's go ahead and get it right on the screen right now. From Blog Mickey, Walt Disney World 5th theme park approved by Oversight District. No plans currently under review. June 24, 2025. This by, I'm guessing, Mike. A new comprehensive plan has been released by the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District and Walt Disney World. This joint venture document was part of a settlement agreement between the district, Walt Disney World, Ron DeSantis, following a litigation after DeSantis took over a local government that regulated Walt Disney World. The new comprehensive plan, which we're still skimming through, outlines planning through 2045, including allowed new development at the resort. It also addresses the possibility of a fifth theme park or a fifth gate at Walt Disney World. And here's the latest. Okay, so this is very interesting for a number of reasons. I think Pro really broke it down very, very well, talking about the usable land and real estate at Walt Disney World property here. And it's, I mean, I've always said this for a while. It's much less than people think, only because of the usable real estate, the way you actually get people to that real estate and so forth. It can be, it's a little bit more complicated. And I mean, obviously Disney has made it complicated for themselves. You can actually see right here, a lot of the green that you see has been reserved for conservation. Disney actually made a commitment before Walt Disney World was even built that a certain amount of the acreage would be set aside for conservation. This is also why Disney has been buying real estate in the area, because people might think, well, you have all this land already. That's true, but because of that conservation commitment, that precludes them from actually developing on certain sites. So if they buy land, add it to this site, then they can say, hey, we still have that conservation agreement. It's just in another place. It's kind of how they get around that. But this right here says that a fifth theme park would not be allowed to be built before 2035, according to the updated plans. One major theme park is allowed through the end of the 2045 comprehensive plan. In addition to a single major theme park allocated somewhere in the comprehensive plan, the plan also allows for 2 minor theme parks as well. Minor theme park would be a water park or a similar, smaller offering. I want to go ahead and kick it to the panel here. I mean, first of all, do you think that Walt Disney World should invest in a third gate at any point in time in the near future? And 2, what do you think they might actually build if a fifth gate was to be part of Walt Disney World Resort?
They have no business building a fifth gate when we're already paying price as though they have a fifth gate. So that terrifies me in terms of what the costs are going to be. They've already priced out people on top of alienated themselves from the nuclear family for obvious reasons. So, and then add the fact that what they're currently working on, they're turning the parks into this thematic convoluted mess, where Hollywood Studios isn't really themed much in Hollywood anymore. It's just this hodgepodge of whatever I'm going to throw in there, and Epcot is now turning into that. It's losing its identity in terms of, education and culture, learning through fun. And then you got the Magic Kingdom that's now adding, let's add that to the trend, with getting rid of, Rivers of America, which was Walt's, blueprint there, and they want to replace it with, a random IP from their library that they think, is going to work. But you've been doing that with your other attractions and lands, and it's just, they really don't. They need to fix what's currently in front of them. Right now, they're not going to garner much, I think, positive reactions from the public when a lot of the public is already displeased with their current offerings.
Yeah, I mean, it's demonstrable. People are really, I think, not super enthused. Little reference there, no other channel, about what people can experience at Walt Disney World, at least right now. And I think that explains at least somewhat the contraction that we've seen in terms of crowds and demand for Walt Disney World this summer. They just don't have the draws that maybe Universal does. And that's the thing, right? Like, Universal they were very landlocked in what they could build out there at Universal Studios Florida or the Universal Orlando Resort. So I think in that case, it's like, okay, look, the only way we're really going to meaningfully expand this footprint is if we go the route of a third gate. Walt Disney World is a little bit different of a paradigm because you still have, as Erika beautifully pointed out, Disney Hollywood Studios that is, yes, a hodgepodge, but two, it's severely underbuilt. And Animal Kingdom that you're looking on screen right here, that is way underbuilt. I mean, what, we're talking only 5 major rides? Nolan, should they even pursue a 5th gate at this point?
I'll tell you, I'm glad you brought this up because I think this is really the story of the week here. Like, a 5th gate is something that's had a lot of speculation going forward ever since, Epic Universe became a theme. Like, how was Disney going to respond to this outside of the Monsters Inc. land? And it shows that they are not prepared. This sort of stuff should have been figured out long before, honestly, even before DeSantis and Iger were having their little boxing match, so to speak, about
That's
certain types of laws and policies within the state of Florida. And now we see how much they really are lost to their own ego. And I'm not trying to say that in a mean way here, but they have been very blind going into Epic Universe. And I think they're going to be feeling the results of this for a few years going forward. To us covering it across many different channels, it's not a surprise, but it shows internally the lack of preparation. And when you don't have preparation, well, it's going to end in disaster here. I wanted to make some jokes on him, like, oh, hey, look, we're going to 2045. Michael Eisner had his Disney decade. Now we're going to have the Disney decades under Bob Iger. But I can't even joke with it because I just don't think they're ready. And if this stuff has been so devastating, to see Rivers of America gone, especially Muppet Vision 3D, I hate to say it, but the way it's looking, we could be seeing more of that if they're really that far away removed from opening a 5th gate. Do you guys realize how much of a time span 10 years is? Like 2015, think about how different you as a person were in 2015 to the viewer at home, let alone how the culture is going to shift and change. And who knows what the world's going to be like, and if the CEO is even going to be the same. In all likelihood, it's not, because we know he's looking at a successor. So,
see, I was just about to ask that question, Nolan. Oh.
He is.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and ask you, Erika. Bob Iger's only contracted until like what, 2026, 7? I know he just got extended.
Yeah,
I thought it was 6. Go ahead.
But he's still going to be there as some kind of consulting person or whatever, like a ghost in the shadows, but still kind of puppeting people around. Was it until like 2033 or something like that? It's kind of in the hidden fine print of his contract.
Yeah, there might have been a detail within his contract that states that.
I thought there was something there where he was still he won't be the main CEO, but he'll just kind of be around.
I don't know what what that role would encompass as outlined in his contract, if that provision was actually provided. I think you might be right. There might have been a provision in which keeps him around for a little bit longer, but he will have given up at least the seat, perhaps not the office, because we know how he loves his 2 shower days, so might keep that, but at least the seat of the CEO he might actually bequeath, I guess, to somebody else.
Until he is on a yacht and fully retired and has hung up his Mickey Mouse ears. As far as I'm concerned, Iger is just going to be enabled to do what he did to Chapek, except this time around, maybe he won't be successful in coming back into the seat, but the influence is still going to be there. And as far as I'm concerned, they're going to pick someone that's just a different version of who he is. So I'm just not believing for a second that we're going to see any change when a new CEO comes in, whoever that is, because the people they have in their sights don't seem to be any better than Iger. There's just a different version of him.
I want to go ahead and bring this up as well, because you reminded me of something that I just saw very recently. Well, as recently as yesterday. This is from Boardwalk Times. Kevin Meyer, who, if you don't know who Kevin Meyer was, he was the one that kind of shepherded Disney Plus up to a certain point, right? So he kind of launched it in 2019 and was there for a little while up until the point where Bob Chapek was made CEO. It was obvious that he didn't really have a place to go past this point because he was picked over for the CEO position. He leaves, joins TikTok, I believe, and then Trump is like, no more of that. So he leaves there, and then he is the co-CEO currently at Campbell Media, along with Tom Staggs, another potential Disney CEO that was at the company for a while. Anyway, it gets complicated. Here we go. Quote, if I were going to advise the new CEO of Disney, I would say stay close to Bob Iger for the first 6 months. Really take that apprenticeship to heart because Bob is an amazing CEO. Very few like him. That from Yahoo Finance right there. Erika's right. Regardless of what it actually says in the contract, it would appear that Bob Iger will have an outsized influence even beyond his role, whatever that happens to be, even when he's not CEO. So that's going to be the problem right there. But assuming 2035 comes around, maybe Bob Iger's really for real out of the picture. Do you think that the mindset around a fifth park changes at the upper echelons of Disney? Or do you think that, 4 is enough and we just keep going forward, expanding the parks that we have right now, or adding to them, changing them? What do you think about that, Alan?
Well, I'm starting to think they are allergic to adding anything else into Hollywood studios because that thing has needed more attractions in it since conception. Animal Kingdom has lost literally the heart of itself. There's barely anything to do there. Half of Magic Kingdom is walled off. And that just leaves Epcot, which, they're kind of losing division with that, but at least you can get your drink on. Fix your dang parts and add a fifth gate. I can make you a list if y'all want it. I mean, if I could say something in regards to a statement, it's perhaps the most comforting statement I've heard from a Disney personality in a long time, honestly, because he said in his statement that there are not many people like Bob Iger. That's great news. I mean, Disney might have a bright future ahead of it if there's not many like him. So please, by all means, spend 6 months with this dude. If you manage to survive and not jump out a window in that meantime, I think you're plenty qualified to be the next CEO. So, hey, perhaps the future is bright for this company if they make the right moves.
It becomes clear to me why Bob Chapek wanted to separate himself from Bob Iger every single day when initially taking that role. When you learn more about Bob Iger himself, and you want to talk about ego, there's no ego like Iger. It is crazy. So we'll have to see what the future holds for Walt Disney World. I will say, folks, it doesn't look incredibly bright right now. Disneyland has Disneyland Forward, and I think when I look at the opportunities there and how committed those executives at Disneyland Resort are committed to actually expanding the parks and allowing for more people to come in, versus I think Walt Disney World, they're just looking at revenue opportunities. And so, if we can keep the labor, let's say, the same, keep our infrastructure the same, and just kind of replace rather than add, it's just two different mindsets, two different philosophies. And unfortunately, I think that will continue no matter who the CEO actually is. Maybe Josh Giamorno changes that because he's a parks guy, but I doubt it. I think it's just going to be more of the same strategy we've seen for the last almost 20 years or so. Disappointing. But what isn't disappointing is these amazing panelists here with their incredible channels. Nolan, what do you got going on over there at Nolan Thunder?
This game, it's called Mario 64. You can play it on Nintendo 64, but it was actually secretly made with an evil artificial intelligence. I've been working on for a year a video about this game. I know our friend Extreme Meme in the comments is letting us know that I need to get this video complete. We'll let you know, Extreme Meme. I'm on 3 hours of sleep right now because I was working on it into the morning before my day job. So please, everybody, this summer, the video is finally going to be coming out in my series, Lost in the Files, where I talk about video games, urban legends, internet mysteries in a documentary style. If you like that sort of thing, please check me out on my channel at Nolan Thunder. I even have a 1980s horror synthesizer soundtrack, so if that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. Thank you for the plug, Mr. VashSky.
Man, that was very impressive.
I need sleep.
I'm hyped just from hearing about it. My goodness gracious. You guys gotta go over there and Nolan Thunder. Because Nolan Thunder is gonna freak out again if you don't. Come on, give this guy a sub, which you should anyway. Goodness gracious. Well, Erika, can you match that intensity when it comes to hanging with Erika and Rock? Sorry.
Unleash the rage.
We got going over there in your neck of the woods.
Not a whole lot. Yeah, just stream surfing lately. That's kind of my thing right now. We're still stagnant on everything. So, yeah. We'll let you know when we're finally going to move forward on something. Yeah, YouTube is an interesting space. It's a lot to learn. And that in between personal things, it's been very stagnant. It's not easy, guys. The YouTube thing is not easy. So it's fun, don't get me wrong. But it can be very intimidating. And then add personal stuff to get kind of not hard to get pulled away from it. But we're trying to come up with some new ideas. I do have footage I'm still very slowly editing. My son had shown interest in wanting to edit it, but he works, so we are everywhere. For now, we're just at least for me, I'm just wherever I'm invited, I just show up and I talk to cool friends like you guys.
Yes, cool friends like us and like you. So definitely, subscribe to Hanging with Erika of Erika and Raph right there. That is awesome stuff. I know, there's maybe a lull in her content. She's produced great content in the past. Why don't you go ahead and check those out? Yeah. Nolan Thunder with the amazing original content. It's coming soon. So that's awesome. And if you subscribe right now, as Nolan said, you'll be the first to know when that video drops. Because, I've been waiting for it, Nolan, I must say. I've been asking where it is. And
Where? Where, Dwight?
Seems like you already know where.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Not a personal attack. No, not
Thank you for
at
that.
all. Yep, of course. And Toontown TV, make sure you see Nolan over there at Toonie Talk TV. That's going to be, I believe, 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Very cool. Very great show. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to T3PO Live. Very much appreciate that. We got to get you on over to Mr. H. But before you leave, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to this channel right here, where we have the Lost Guys, the Genre Guys, and a whole lot more. We have Hollywood Backlight with Blue and You every single Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and this show at 3 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. Nolan, what are we going to say, good sir?
I have one more thing I would like to share with the viewers at home, if you got one more second, good Vash, sir.
Please.
This Saturday is going to be the return of That Game Place. It's going to be shifting over to its brand new time. We already had a little bit of a test the water stream for the Donkey Kong event that happened here a few days ago. Me and Culture Casino are working very hard behind the scenes to get this channel back consistent again. It's going to be moving from Wednesdays to a brand new time on Saturdays at 8 o'clock p.m. So if you want a little bit of nighttime action, baby, we're going to be covering all the great gaming news. And hopefully a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 headlines are going to be there too. So if you're into gaming and want something to look forward to while you're waiting on some of our content throughout all of our channels here, please take some time to check it out. I would have brought this up earlier and actually done this as the plug, but you see, I've had 3 hours of sleep, so I forget things sometimes.
That's all right. That's fine. I kind of set you up for the Nolan Thunder channel. But yes, that game place headed by Nolan Thunder. That's going to be super, super cool. I know they're doing a lot of great stuff with Culture Casino, Trisha Campbell, and a whole lot of our other friends. Definitely check out that game place. Very, very cool indeed. But Nolan, are they going to have shape language? I mean, that's, I think, what inquiring minds really want to know.
So what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture, but like, what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in.
It's terrible. It's awful.
Yes, it'll get you into shape. Don't worry.
Yes, indeed. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here at T3PO Live. Like I was saying before, definitely subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button on your way out over to Mr. H, which is currently already, I believe, in progress. And yes, I understand that's the music going right now. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure you check out That Park Place, the website, That Park Place, the YouTube channel. New streams every single, Morning Magic, 8 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. Eastern. You know the whole bit. Thank you so much. We will see you all later.